Good evening. This is Link Season Master, self proclaimed crazy person and goofball extraordinaire. So, tonight's vlog, I am going to be covering My Hero Academia. Specifically, I'm going to be recovering the third movie, World Heroes Mission. Spoilers, warning here, but I think I'll try to keep certain details as spoiler free as I can, but naturally I'm going to be covering certain elements of both this and the previous movies. Okay, anyway, as usual, Studio Bones delivers in the animation department. The action was incredible. We, I really got to, for one thing, we got to see Bakugo like really let loose towards the end, and like getting to see what his quirk can really do. It it was nuts, and yeah, like the villains they were attacking, some creative fight sequences. Deku had a really great fight with the leader of the evil organization. Sorry, I am terrible with names. I believe the name is Fleck. Let's see. Okay. Fleck Turn. Yeah, but some of the minor villains did have some neat designs, but and they did lead to some good fights, but they weren't quite as memorable. Fleck also showed an interesting case of what happens with some rather problematic quirks, specifically the inability for people to make contact with him, quirk or human. It does make me wonder, though. It's not. I know it's a kind of a goofy thing to wonder, but makes me wonder if the guy just how he gets clothes on. Probably some workaround, but I'm not gonna question it too much. But honestly, the action is great. The story, it was okay. I honestly didn't find it as interesting as the last one. The characters, however, is a whole other story. I think between Melissa Shields from the first movie, Shimano siblings from the second one, and Rhodey from this one, Rhodey was easily the most interesting of the movie original allies, the focus characters. I would like, and it's also nice to see, even in this movie, they showed a little attention, like acknowledging that the whole thing with Shields family did happen. Like they showed the flashback to that. I wish they'd done a little. I wish they'd done a mention of the Shimano siblings, but Rhodey was honestly the most interesting one we've had yet. I'm a little baffled they made up some brand new countries for this world. I guess Superhero Society caused some political changes in Europe, from what it looks like. But I think out of all of them, I think Rhodey's the one I kind of want to see the most, at least cameo in the future. He had a great design, and he was just very entertaining, and in some ways kind of relatable. Like his concern is first and foremost what family he has left. He's not really interested in heroes or villains. He just wants to get by. So Deco was a great influence on him, and he starts making a. By the end, he starts actually making a good living, and he gets to really do some pretty cool moments just by beating up. Because his quirk just really. His quirk isn't really meant for fighting, though it is good for communicating certain things. But don't want to spoil that too much. But it's not the kind that usually that comes into handy in a fight in the way you expect. But I don't feel like Fleck Turn or any of his organization were as interesting as Mummy, Slice, Chimera, or Nine from the previous movie. Robbie Damon did a great job as the villain, but I still think I prefer the four from the previous one because they all had memorable designs, quirks, personalities. Mainly, what they were going through wasn't as relatable. I mean, I guess it wasn't really, didn't really, like, it wasn't as tragic as Fleck turned in certain ways, but I think you still felt bad for him. He still understood where they came from, and I, I think they were just more memorable. But yeah, I'd love to see the Shimano siblings. I know some people theorize that the brother of the Shimano siblings would go on to become one of the next big three alongside Eri and Kota come future, which would be nice to see them in UA. I've seen some great fan art of that. But honestly, I think Rhodey's the one I'd love it if I because clearly by the end he's trying to become a pilot, and hey, if he was the one who was personally escorting the number one hero Deku from place to place, that would be incredible. I would love to see a cameo like that. He just had a. Like, but I also kind of noticed like this something this film definitely learned from the last one was to have a much better ending. Like there was no cop out regarding all one for all. But speaking of that, I noticed in the each movie they do something really cool with all one for all in each one. In the first one, I think it's really the only time we get to see Deku and All Might fighting side by side as equals. Because, but it's a little hard to say where it takes place, but as some people know, All Might kind of loses his quirk, pretty much runs run runs out the clock eventually. He's not dead yet, and I hope he doesn't die. But yeah, he no longer has even a flicker of One for All. Second movie, we get to see Deku share the quirk with Bakugo. It leads to some fantastic action, but I feel like the way they made it so that Bakugo doesn't keep it, like there was such an easy workaround for that. That would have been completely in character for Bakugo. He just gives the darn thing back. One for All didn't need to suddenly develop a mind of its own and decide to revert completely back to Deku on its own. Bakugo would have, like, it would have been so in character for him to just give it back. That's not hard to do. I'm kind of surprised I thought of that and they didn't. In this movie, we get to see Deku do United States of Smash. That was awesome! But yeah. But one thing I felt like the previous movie definitely did better than this one was how it handled its ensemble cast. Class 1A in the second movie, they all had very important tasks to do. So, some were more in charge of keeping protecting the civilians, but everyone played a key role in the defense of the island. Here, everyone was too dang spread out over the world. They tried to give some people a little bit of attention, but really, the only real members of Class 1A who got any real focus were naturally Deku, who, wow, ever since he awakened the Black Whip, I really get to see the Spider-Man influence fate, like, and it's awesome, like, and it's very apparent in this movie. Bakugo, as I said, Todoroki also really gets to show how far he's come from when he wanted to reject Endeavor's quirk. But yeah, a lot of the other. This is one of the unfortunate things about franchises like this is when you have so many characters, it's not always easy to make sure everyone gets their proper shot. I mean, on the you either divert focus too much, or you put you I like it's a big juggling act trying to like make your world feel lived in by having people, like a variety of people, each with their own personalities. Or, but then you got to figure out how to make sure people don't get to, like, either the main characters don't get too much focus and you give some love to your other characters, or you spread it out too thin and nobody really gets a proper chance to shine at all. I think it's why some people, if they really want to flesh out characters, I think it's part of the reason why Bastion, the video game, works so well, is that there are some mentions of some background and lore and some, but the main folk, but there's only there's really only four characters. Like there are some other characters too that do get a bit of life, but and even some backstory, but it primarily knows where to devote its focus. I don't really know what the proper solution to having such a loads and loads of characters are. It gets really tricky, knowing how to balance it. I wish I knew how to, and I don't really know how My Hero can solve that because I mean, it's not at One Piece level of insane cast size, and it's definitely better than Bleach. I mean, I liked Bleach okay, except for the final arc, which I have very mixed feelings about them trying to animate. But yeah, Kubo had a bad habit of just creating and creating characters whenever he couldn't really think of what to do next. But yeah, regardless, even with some of the criticisms, I did really enjoy this movie. I am really glad I went. As usual for Bones, the animation was fantastic. One of the other things I'm a little annoyed about, though, is apparently tonight was the only night to see it in theaters around here. I thought they had finally started to learn their lesson after giving Demon Slayer, Infinity Train, or Mugen Train, or whatever, basically the Demon Slayer movie, plenty of time in theaters. Nope, one night only. Ugh. I guess they're just worried about it interfering with all the releases that are coming out next month. But come on. Give animation a shot. Like, a true shot. This isn't fair. Anyway, I am really glad I went to see this movie. I am very much looking forward to seeing what these guys come up with next. Like, you just know there's going to be at least one or two more My Hero movies. Which I'm. And Toonami's still wrapping up the season it's currently in the middle of. But they've had to put that on hold for a few things, namely the DC specials and try to wrap up Fen Up Pirate Princess. If anyone wants to hear me do a vlog on my thoughts on that, let me know. But regardless, my advice, if you have enjoyed the previous two movies, definitely go see this one. It's not really it's like they do a few interesting things. Like does it really do anything that new? Not really. But it's still dang fun. And the ending is definitely more satisfying than the last one. Anyway, thank you all for listening, and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye. Until next time.